There guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm back in our fire alarm room in the house, our fire alarm slash furnace room. This time, this part of this fire alarm work, we're staying in this room. All the work's in this room. I'm sure you know by the title of this video, I'm going to be working on HVAC shutdown because I've mounted a duct detector on my furnace and it's still on the return air. I'm still trying to decide if that's good or not. So depending on when this video gets uploaded in relation to the other videos, it may look different if I have decided to change it, or maybe it's exactly the same. I don't know yet. But today we're working on HVAC shutdown, where when the fire alarm system goes into alarm, the furnace will shut down. Well, sort of. I'll show you what I'm thinking here and what I've planned. Got the front cover off of this furnace air handling unit, and I'll show you my plan, at least, but the best plan I can come up with. I've talked to some Sparkies and some HVAC technicians, and they all said that my plan would be fine. It would work fine, wouldn't cause any harm. So I'm thinking it's okay. I'm sure some people will have their own ideas, which is fine. Everyone's got a different opinion on it. My plan right now is I'm wanting to do, basically I want to break the load on the smallest thing possible. I mean, sure, I could put a huge freaking 100 amp rated contactor in and break up the 100 amp feed going to this furnace, and it is a 100 amp feed because yes, we have a heat pump, so we have here for heating and cooling, but then we also have supplementary heat is 100 amps or somewhere maybe 80. I'm not sure if they do the 80% deration thing for heat. I don't think you have to for heating actually. Well, why aren't we focused? Anyways, so it's a 100 amp feed to this furnace here. But I don't want to have to put in a relay for the fire alarm relay for the contactor. It would be like 3 different sets of coils because of having to break such a large load probably. So I'd rather do the smallest load break that I can. So at first I was thinking, I got these door switches taped off right now. I guess I should say don't do that because you're really not supposed to, but I'm not worried about it to keep the power on. So at first I was thinking, oh, I'll just wire in series with these door switches, but then I realized that's at the 240 volt level, which is fine, but fire alarm relays are only rated at, I think it's 0.3 amps for the notifier FRM. Is that what it's called? FRM, flash scan relay module, something like that. They're only rated at, I believe, 0.3 amps at 120 volt, which is what it would be because I'd be just switching one phase, I guess. I could do both, I think, because it's dual relay. Anyways, I think I just got dog hair blown in my mouth from this furnace, so that sucks. Anyways, I didn't want to do that, so instead I'm going to switch this little wire here, which I put a meter on it here, and this little fella is 0.6 amps. Every once in a while it bumps up to 1 amp. And I put the system into cooling and it doesn't change. I think this is the control board. I think this is just the 24 volt power to the control board. I metered it here. It is 24 volt. You notice the system is running fan right now. Running here's proof. Put my phone charger in there. There you go. That's proof it's running. So watch if I unplug this and see there's activity on the board right now. You can see that is flashing. If I unplug it's 24 volt. You can hear the transformer and power still on this unit, but it kills the board, and that also kills the fan, which is all we need to do. We're not worried about killing power to the unit. That's not actually the concern of this, is to actually kill the power. The whole point of this is just to stop air circulation, which killing the board also kills this fan, because obviously nothing's going to run unless the board is giving it a command to run. So by default, if there's no power, it's not asking anything to run. The outdoor unit won't run. The blower in here won't run. Emergency heat won't run. It's just kind of reinitializing itself now. And there you go, that's the fan, the blower back on. So that's my plan, is to switch this. Because it's only at an amp, you might say, hey, the module is good for 0.3 amps. Well, that's at 120 volt. At 30 volts DC or less, or probably AC or DC or less, the relay module is rated at 3 amps. This also has a fuse, 3.2 amps, so I know this is likely never going to creep over 3 amps. They've obviously engineered it for that fuse to always hold. You don't put fuses in intending them to pop. And I metered it at 1 amp, larger than what it actually runs at for longevity of that fuse, for it to actually hold and not just heat up. Okay, I was wrong. I'll put it up on screen here what this is rated at. I believe this is 24 volt AC. It actually reads 28, but that was under an open circuit, so it's supposed to be 24 volt. I would call this 25 volt or less. I would trust it. If it kills the relay after so long, it kills the relay, whatever. They are always going to be somewhat of a safety factor on those relays, because they don't want their relays burning up under regular use. They're probably going to test it for 100,000 cycles at this voltage, and if it's fine at this one, then they'll derate it slightly, if you know what I mean. Like, they're being on the safe side. So I'm going to go with that 2 amps at 25 volt, which, as you saw, this only went up to 1 amp. I think the most I saw this go is like 1.2, 1.3 amps. So we're within that factor. So I think we're safe to use this directly on the fire alarm relay. I'm just doing that for simplicity. I do understand absolutely that I could install a ice cube relay, because then you'll use your fire alarm relay to turn on the coil to the ice cube relay, and then that gives you what I think ice cube relays are usually around 5 to 10 amps depending on what voltage you're at. So they are more of a stout relay than the fire alarm relay. And if that's still not enough, you could then control the actual contactor. But you could probably control the contactor directly off the fire alarm relay too, depending on how hungry of a coil it is on the contactor. By the way, something I've been taught that I never really thought about, and I thought I would share with you guys while we're on the topic of contactors, because it's kind of interesting. I never really thought about this, but you can't mount contactors on a ceiling. Sure, you can, and it might work for a few years, but eventually the contactor is having to actually hold up its weight, and they'll start to chatter. And once you get any metal shavings or anything in there, they'll really start to chatter. And I don't know if anyone's experienced a chattering contactor or even a noisy contactor, and then you go punch it and it gets quieter again for the next couple hours. They're annoying. We actually have a contactor at one of the sites that I've worked in, where every time the power goes out, the contactor lets go, and it doesn't quite suck in properly. So you gotta, it's funny when people are around you, you open the electrical cabinet and you just can make a fist and you just, boom, you pound that sucker, and then it's just quiet. And it's good. We're gonna come back and take it out, but it's funny to see the look on people's faces when there's this loud electrical buzzing noise, and I just walk in there. You ready for it? You ready for it? Boom! And then it's just done. Anyways, don't mount contactors on the ceiling, but we don't need a contactor anyways, because I found this control voltage that is pretty low current. So yeah, let's go get our fire alarm relay here and hook it up to the system. It's getting smoky out here again. Jackson. This is towards the end of, this is being filmed towards the end of August, and the forest fires in British Columbia right now are pretty bad. So the smoke has been getting around to my house every now and then. Why did I come in this entrance? I'm trying to get over here. In this fire alarm room is a relay. That's just a cover. FRM1A, I think that's what we're after. Take a look at this guy here. Terminals on this thing. I would have thought they would have just had 6 on this side. It's like 2 relays. I'm not sure why there's more on this side. We'll take a look at this. I don't know if I've hooked one of these up in a long time. Cover. Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. That's why I was saying I would have thought there would have been 6, but there's 5. So is what they did, because I guess they're limited to only 5. It looks like there's room for a 6 there. But they've put the normally open on relay 1 right there. And this other one's just unused. You get 2 relays here. This is your SLC. And then this is relay number 1, which all 3 of these, or sorry, this is relay number 2, but 1 relay and then 1 other relay. So you have your common, normally open, normally closed, sorry, normally open on this. This is 1 relay, these 3, and you have common, normally closed, and then they don't have enough room on this one, so they put the normally open over here. But that normally open is for this second relay or first relay, whichever way you look at it. Again, why they don't have a terminal there, I don't know. Ask the guys at Honeywell. Sounds like a them problem. Let's take a look at what this fella's rated at. Okay, here's all of our ratings. So this is what I'm basing it off of right here. Is we are at 25 volts AC. Am I reading the French manual? That's why things look different. It's French. Oh well. I still know what they mean. That's 25 volt AC and 2 amps is what we're rated at. And the most I saw that control board pull up to was 1.2, 1.3, something like that. So this is going to be just fine. As I said, they're probably putting these on the safe factor. So even if we were right at 2 amps, which technically is still okay, I bet the thing could handle up to 3 or 4 before there was any issue, because this has probably been tested for thousands of cycles. I'm not saying do that. Don't do that. Go by their specifications if you want things to last properly and do a proper install. I'm just saying it's just like ladders. You got a ladder that's rated at 300 pounds. The thing's been tested up to probably 600. And for 100,000 cycles, I'm just saying how things are. You should still go by what they say. But anyways, we're fine to go with that. If we were, say, any higher, we'd have to derate down to 7 amps maximum at 70 volts AC, and then 120 volts AC, we are down to just 0.5 amps. What's the difference with that one at 0.3? Fuck, it would help if I could read what they were saying. There, I can read this one better. This one is actually in English. They've actually listed it the other way. I guess those weird backwards French people. I'm just kidding. So 25 AC, that's what we're basically, they have coded and non-coded. I didn't know this thing could switch on and off like that. Maybe I'm interpreting that wrong. I guess that is just the power factor there, which I'm not going to lie to you and pretend I know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to power factor. I know that it can vary. I know it has effect on a lot of things with power factor, but it's kind of confusing, honestly. I have to learn more about that. That is something I need to learn more about. Because we are under 1.5 meters and will be susceptible to mechanical damage here, I am going to run a Fire Alarm BX cable here. This is an 18.3. It's really only 2 conductors you can use because we have an equipment ground conductor. It's considered one of the 3 conductors in this cable because it's insulated, so that they then count it as one of the listed conductors. That's why they call it an 18.3. Anyways, it's a BX sheath cable, kind of like the big flex running into the furnace. So that's what I'm going to run from our box that I installed when I installed the fire alarm system. I put a box here with SLC in it. The SLC in this box is part of the isolated level 1 SLC. So if something was to short on that SLC, it would take out the basement isolator and the upstairs would still be survivable. So I'm going to enter this BX into the side of the furnace. Let's put it right here. Well, maybe right there might be the only place I can actually get to it. I would like to run it out of knockout, but they don't give you much options on this. The only spot in the furnace where it's not a double wall is right here. Obviously that's taken up by the power. Same with right here. But in order to get up there, it is quite difficult because they build these furnaces in a modular design where all you have to do is plug these connectors together from each section of it. So it's almost impossible to fish something up there. It's a pain in the ass. So I'm just going to cut into it. It's not like we're going to be leaking any hot or cold air, nor does it really matter. This is the return air anyways, but even if it was hot and cold, You lose so much air out of these gaps like this anyways. That's why it's dirty, so it doesn't matter. Double walled thing, we have this plastic wall on the inside and this metal wall on the outside, and there's this insulation in between. So I will drill first a bigger hole with the hole saw on the outside, because we need it big enough for me to get my connector on. I would usually drill this 7/8 for the connector, but we need it larger for the lock nut, so I'll drill like say a 1-inch hole on the inside here. So let's do that right now. Let's see what's the smallest thing we have right here. I guess this is the smallest thing. What is this, 1.25 inches maybe? 1.5 inches. Okay, I'll do that. Right here is really the only spot I can fit it. Guess we broke the bit. That's what I get for doing this one-handed. Oopsies. Now I'm going to use this bit to actually make my hole through. Oh yeah, nice. Ready? There we go. Looking good, looking good. I lost my beater screwdriver. I don't know where it went. Probably a coworker took it. I haven't even been to work with it, but I'm gonna blame it on a coworker anyways. That we have our connectors installed, I will run this BX cable between them. Show you what we do with this BX cable. I'll just recut it here to show you guys what you do. So I need it a little bit broken off here. You snap it just like any other BX. This is really no different than any other BX. And cut it, if I can grab a hold of this little guy. There you go. Pull off the end, and then we want to clean it up there. Not leave it quite so sharp. There you go. That is a little bit better. And now usually this is when we'd install the anti-short. You don't actually need it on this because we have this outer sheathing of the fire alarm cable. It does the same thing an anti-short does. So we'll strip it back, but we'll leave a little bit left there to act as our anti-short if I can keep the knife on this round slippery cable. Okay, this is freaking freezing. This is turned back on, so we don't need this upper cover off, and these coils are on here freezing me out. That's real cold. and that's not going to cool the house very effectively. So we'll put this guy back. We can leave that guy open. The only difference is it's not going to pull as much through the return. Half of it's going to come through there. But this is making this little tiny room really cold really quick. Now I can enter in our fire alarm cable up here into our module. And then just torque the connector down. Not too crazy, this is just a little tiny BX, it's not that strong. And I guess I will throw in a strap up here. Okay, so this is going to enter the furnace right here, so I need it broken right here. And we need enough inside the furnace to reach up to about right here, so we'll cut it right there. I will enter that into the connector here. I know it's a little hard to see. This stuff is plenum rated. Okay, that is solid. Strip back this fire alarm sheathing, at least from this point here onwards. Alrighty, we'll hook it into the furnace last. Let's hook it into this module next. I'm going to open up our module here, install this fella. Probably end up dumping out the little screws and losing them, like I always do. Alrighty, so we'll install this guy. First of all, this ground we don't need here. Doesn't need to tie on to anything. This furnace is already completely bonded. So I'm going to strip back our HVAC shutdown wires right here. And these will go on, I'm going to put the black under the common terminal. And the red will be on the normally closed, as we want this circuit to be normally closed and only open up and lose power to the furnace when the fire alarm system goes off. That has that side of things wired up. Now we need to hook the SLC up into it. Okay, we're gonna have some troubles on the fire alarm system. I will acknowledge that. This is our SLC positive right here. That will go under these two terminals. And our SLC negative here. We are now initializing again that the SLC is put back together. And there you go. This is now hooked up to the SLC. I will now tuck this all back here to the neatest job you have ever seen in your life. Just kidding. Oh, that is pretty damn nice though. Okay, now we will set the address on this detector, or sorry, this module. This will be module number 3 because we have our front door pull station, that's number 1. Number 2 is our attic heat detectors. So this will be 3, so we'll leave the 10s at 0 and turns our 1's place to 1, 2, 3. Those of you saying, why didn't you put it onto the fire alarm panels relays? Well, I absolutely could have, but I like keeping those relays open for other things that I plan to want to do with those guys in the future. It just keeps the panel cleaner. I'd rather have a monitor module that I can then program to only say go on certain smoke detectors. Like, it just gives me more possibilities that I can do it should I want to. So I don't know, I just decided to do it this way instead. Absolutely could just hook it up to a relay on the panel if I wanted to. Let's wire this up down here. First, let's put the cover on this monitor module here. The reason I forgot to mention of why I like to use control modules for something like this. If it's like, if I know it's absolutely low current draw, like it's just a security panel monitoring it or another fire alarm panel, then sure, I'd use them. But for something like this where, yeah, it's probably fine. Furnace could say short out and it's still putting out power on it, and then you're shorting out this when it turns on. I'd rather kill a $60 fire alarm module than screw up the relay on a $3,000-$4,000 fire alarm panel, if that makes sense. It's more of a sacrificial thing. I'm going to be a lot less annoyed if something shorts out and it's too much current on the contacts and it kills this versus the fire alarm panel. To program it into the fire alarm system, I think it's in its normal state here, but I'm going to program it in anyways. If it wasn't, all zeros, go basic program and auto program, and after it's done the auto program, it should pick up this new device and ask me about what I want to do with it, what I want to call it, stuff like that. The program will take a couple minutes, and then once it's done, it will then ask me what this module is, and I will tell it what it is, and then put in my custom name for how I want to describe the device. Okay, it just came up here now, so I can call it relay, bell circuit, strobe circuit, horn circuit, audible circuit, speaker, nothing, release circuit, whatever that is, Oh, it's relay audible, I guess. Whole lot of options. We'll just call it relay. Leave it as that. And right here where it's set to 00, that means it'll activate on any zone. However, I could change that to specific zones and have certain detectors set to that same zone too. I can have multiple zones on a detector, like a zone for where it is, and then have a separate zone to turn on certain things. But if I leave it at 00, right now that'll activate on any point, which I will leave that as that for now. HVAC, I don't think it'll let me put in shutdown. Okay, there's the abbreviation for shutdown, I believe that's what we use. And again, I'll just leave it as all. That is now initializing, and this is now polling. So there you go. Wanted to, I could assign another zone to the duct detector. I could say make it zone it could be anything. I could make it zone 10 and take the 00 away. I put in 10, so then it will only shut down on zone 10. That's something that is pretty cool thing that you can do with addressable systems, is assigning things very specifically. Let's hook this in down here now at the furnace. So I'm going to tie on to this guy here, and I think I'm just going to cut it and just splice it with a Moret because I'm going stranded to solid. So yeah, I'll just use a Moret. Alrighty, let's hook this up here. So I'm just going to cut this right here. You see that shutdown. Strip this side of it here. And I can actually really shut it down by taking this tape off the door switches, which I might as well so I don't short it out or anything. Take these guys here, strip him, and strip that guy. And I will use my red as our power going out to the fire alarm or to the relay. That wound it up a little tight, oh well. And then the red here will be the return. And there you go, that should be it. I put some tape on there to help that not come apart, but that should be pretty good. That's that put together there. So I can now put the door on. I forgot to put the filter in. We'll put that in first. Okay, for some reason this thing's not making contact properly. There we go. Just bent the whole thing back out. Alright, I now labeled this guy HVAC shutdown relay. Alrighty, let's give this new setup a test here. I'm going to activate this smoky. And HVAC shut down. Okay. There you go. You saw that turn back on when we hit silence, so I guess I will change that because it seems as that is now a silenceable relay. Okay, it won't let me until it's initialized. It's now done here. Module 3. I just changed this here and forgot to record it. So I'll show you in programming here. I guess I might be able to just do read status. Basic program 2.1 modify output no module. Stop it. module 003, enter. So I then, is what I did here, is I changed it from F, which I believe is silenceable, because the star, I believe, is referring to these switches down here, which might only be if it's a NAC, I would think, not so much this. And F and W is for walk test, which again, I don't know if it would, I guess that means this would switch in walk test, which maybe we don't want that. I don't know how many options they give you. I guess just not. So yeah, that might be a good thing to have where it actually doesn't shut down the furnace and walk test. But then as far as the F, there's U, B, T, O, C, star. I know star means it's non-silenceable and F means it is, but I have no idea what anything else does on there. And I've looked through all the pages of the manual. I can't find anything. However, I did just test it. And it does work now. I'm going to unplug the NACs and show you guys. Porcupine fridge magnet here. There's other people home now. There wasn't on the last test. So I don't want to disturb anyone. So I unplug the NACs. I know you can go into programming and bypass them. I should actually make a zone for NAC bypass. There's a lot of things I should do and could do still to this system. Come on, Porcupine. Okay, so that shut down the relay, which shut down the furnace. You can see we got no lights going on in there. And when I do system reset, this will go back eventually. It does seem to take quite a while. Guess I can plug the NACs back in. So there, that's back to normal. There you go. Now furnace came back on. So yeah, there you go. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you do have any comments or questions, feel free to leave those down in the comment section. And if you do enjoy my videos, make sure to subscribe. Also, I do have an Instagram account at Pickle700 for bonus content and content posted earlier than you'd see it on the YouTube channel. That sort of thing. Alrighty guys, thanks for watching.